Everybody, greetings to you all. And thank you so much for taking time to spend with us on this very special afternoon. My name is Hendrina, and I'm going to be your program director for this afternoon. I'm very glad and very thankful to the Brahma Kumaris for agreeing to host the program this afternoon. Just a little bit about the Brahma Kumaris, if I may. The Brahma Kumaris is a world spiritual university, and the focus of the Brahma Kumaris is to help people to explore their inner qualities as a basis for developing their highest level of personal integrity and achieving self-mastery. This very unique method that the Brahma Kumaris uses of education in human, moral, and spiritual values was initiated in 1936 and is currently being offered in about 130 countries. The spiritual university offers courses in meditation and spiritual understanding, as well as lectures and seminars on higher human values, positive thinking, stress management, and personal management skills. So the courses and activities take place in different areas of the community, such as hospitals, schools, businesses, and in industry. Of course, all the courses and programs that I've mentioned are offered at no cost to you. And the Brahma Kumaris believes that this is the service and contribution to building communities of greatness. The university is subsidized by the voluntary and the anonymous donations of its students and teachers. So the Brahma Kumaris has graciously offered to host Mike George this afternoon. And I just want to give you a brief background of Mike before I let him speak with you. Let me just quickly tell you about what Mike is going to speak about. He's going to be talking about strengthening soul immunity. And then after Mike speaks, he's going to be taking some questions, and we're then going to be finishing with a meditation commentary. I'm going to encourage you all to go and get a pen and paper quickly, because I know that this is going to be a wonderful session, and you might have lots of questions after you've heard Mike speak. Mike George, I've been honored to meet Mike on a number of occasions when he's come to South Africa. He's been an author of 16 books focusing on self-awareness and personal enlightenment. In a unique blend, insight, wisdom, and humor, Mike brings together the three key strands of the 21st century: self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and continuous unlearning. His books include Being Yourself, Don't Get Mad, Get Wise, which is a favorite of mine, Mindsets, and The 7 Myths About Love. So I'd like to introduce you to Mike. And Mike, welcome wherever you are in the world. Please, can you share all these beautiful insights with all the souls that are on the call today?
Great, thank you very much. That beautiful introduction, and welcome to everyone. And thank you all for tuning in this afternoon. And it's a pleasure to be here and connecting with everyone in South Africa. Thank you very much for the invitation to come and share with you, I guess, my own some of my own experiences and churnings, and hopefully they'll be useful to you in some way or other. And I noticed there was a good invitation to grab a piece of paper and take a few notes as we're exploring this particular subject. And I'm sure many questions will arise, and I'm going to kind of stimulate more questions than answers, I think. And so if you do have any questions, I'd be very happy to explore them with you. And if you want to put them on the chat room at some stage, then the chat page, then feel free to do so. And I'm sure we'll have a good Q&A at the end. As you know, this particular talk is focused around the idea of the immune system of the soul. And I guess where it all kind of started for me was when someone asked me to give a talk on the immune system, and I kind of immediately said, no, thank you. I know nothing really scientifically about what we call our immune system, which is commonly placed within our physical form, the immune system of our body. But then as I walked away and as I kind of explored the idea of the immune system, I began to realize that I do know quite a bit about the immune system of the soul. And it's not a common idea. In fact, not many people really are aware that consciousness, the soul, the self, whatever you want to call the I that says I am, also has an immune system. And of course, as you know, your immune system is active all the time. Even as you sit listening to this, it's busy protecting your physical body. And it never stops working in some way or other, in some form or other. And if any foreign diseases get inside, then it very quickly rushes. I think they're called white blood cells or helper cells or T cells, rushes to the place of disease and begins to either exterminate or expel the infection, which is really other cells that have gone bad, basically. So the immune system's constantly on guard to serve your physical body. It's an aspect, it's built in to your physical form. Whereas the immune system of the soul, the one that's built into our consciousness, if you like, requires reactivation, conscious reactivation almost every day. And I never knew this, and that's why probably in the true introduction of me, I would have to say that the reason I got interested in all of this and all spiritual things, all things of consciousness, was I just kind of woke up one day and realized I was not happy in my being. I was habitually being unhappy, otherwise known in the world today as very stressed, very tense, very anxious, not really understanding why am I here, what am I doing here. It's kind of questioning everything. And so it got so bad, so intense, that I gave up everything I was doing one day and began to look outside and inside to see what I had to change. And then I began to realize quite fast, really, that the one thing no one ever teaches us, it's the big hole in all our educations, and it's called self-understanding. And if I don't understand me, then I can't manage me. And if I can't manage me, which means my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings, my attitudes, then I can't manage the stuff around me, the things I have to interact with, people, situations, events, etc. And very quickly, the penny dropped for me. I don't know if it's dropped for you yet. Maybe it will during this particular presentation. But it dropped for me quite fast in that no one else is responsible for the stressfulness that I experience, not experience, but experience. I'm the creator of my own stress. And it lies in just before I act, in what's called the response. And the response, I don't know if you've noticed, is initially within our own consciousness, within our own mind, with our thoughts and our emotions, etc. And so I began to get, oh, hey, I'm the creator of my stress, therefore I can learn not to create my stressfulness. And in many ways, that's one of the benefits of any spiritual practice, is that you'll become aware quite fast that stress is not necessary. It's not necessary to live a stressful, in other words, a tense, anxious, angry, irritated, pressurized life. It's not necessary. And so that's what kind of took me into this whole territory of self-awareness. And I've spent the last 35 years maybe becoming more and deeper in my self-awareness. And I'm still on that journey. And I'll be on that journey for the rest of my life. It's a kind of depthless dimension of our consciousness, is to keep uncovering deeper insight, deeper wisdom, deeper understanding. And that's really the purpose of any spiritual path. I'm reluctant to use the word growth, because the spirit consciousness, the self, the I that says I am, does not grow. It accumulates. And it's the accumulation of beliefs, of ideas, of experiences that keeps the self trapped and diminishes the self. We trap ourselves, and so we diminish ourselves, and then we're not able to radiate and feel free in ourselves. So the idea of reactivating the immune system is really to kind of I guess, understand what's going on within our consciousness. And if you've built any kind of meditation practice or any kind of contemplation or reflection into your life, then you'll have started to do this. You'll have started to see that actually self-awareness isn't really about being aware of yourself. It's about being aware of what you are creating within yourself, within your consciousness. And the more you become aware, the more you join the dots, make the connections in your consciousness between thoughts and feelings and attitudes and then outward behaviors, then the more you become the master of that process. But before I explain how to activate the immune system and thereby strengthen it in that sense, it's probably useful to put in the background for those of you who are kind of tuning in to this particular subject matter for the first time. It's probably useful just to put in the background four different little essential bits of insight, information, or what have you. And the first one is to do with energy. And there's two energies at life which interact, which interplay. Two energies in all our lives: the material and the spiritual, form and consciousness, matter and mind, body and soul. One of them is very tangible, very physical, very external, and you can see it. You look in the mirror every morning and you see it. And that's where your stress begins, when you go, is that really me? And of course, that's what we're taught. We're taught to believe we are what we see in the mirror in the morning. And the second energy is the energy that occupies and animates form. And this is not new. This is ancient understanding, and this is consciousness itself. Whether you call it soul, spirit, psyche, self, I, consciousness, doesn't really matter, but it's an energy which is invisible, internal, intangible, inaudible. It's non-physical, non-material. So life is an interplay of these two energies. Unfortunately, we are taught to identify with the material. We're taught to see the material reality and learned to believe that that's the primary reality. For some cases, people believe it's the only reality. Yeah. And so no one teaches us that actually it's the secondary reality, and the primary reality is our own consciousness, is our own inner world. In both worlds, there's changes. There's always changing circumstances and situations and weather and demands and people and so on, constantly changing. And also in the inner world of our consciousness, it's also constantly changing. Thoughts, feelings, they come and go. Attitudes, memories, experiences, they come and go. But of course, the one thing that never goes, that never actually changes, is the one who's watching all these thoughts, feelings, attitudes, situations, and events, the one who's watching them come and go. And sometimes this is called the observer, the witness, if you like. And so we're always witnessing comings and goings. Yeah. But the problem is we get pulled away, we get dragged along by things that come and things that go. Yeah. We even get dragged along by our own thoughts. Sometimes it's called a train of thought. And I'm sure you've had many trains of thought. You get on one carriage and then you start walking through the train. You start looking at all your thoughts and you get dragged through life just by many trains of thoughts. This is why the mind is always thinking, because we don't realize it's possible to step away and just watch the train, just as if you were standing on the platform in the station and watching the train go through. And so we don't learn how to observe our thoughts, to stand back and be the witness of our own thinking. And this is where a lot of our disease or dis-ease is coming from, as you're probably familiar with. So this is the first idea, this idea of two energies, and we learn to identify with the material energy, and actually, in reality, we are the non-material energy. And you don't, science has nothing to say about consciousness because you can't get it in a test tube. So you have to be your own scientist. And you can do that. Very simple experiment. Your body has to be in this room right now, can't be anywhere else. Yes, but you can leave the room in 1 second. You can go away. You can lose awareness of whatever is around you, even lose awareness of your body, and suddenly you've gone. You've sat with friends sometimes, and they've sensed you've checked out. So what do they say? Are you still with me? And in that moment, you go zoom. Oh, sorry, I was just away for a moment. And if you're very aware, you have no idea how long you're away because you went beyond the awareness of time. You have no idea where you went because you went beyond the awareness of space. So you went beyond time and space, but your body had to stay here. Yeah, it didn't go anywhere, but you went somewhere. And so in that moment, you prove to yourself that you are of another dimension. And so if you ever learn to meditate, you'll learn to do that anywhere, anytime, in 1 second. And then when you come back into the awareness of change, movement, the awareness of the secondary reality around you, you'll notice you are refreshed, recharged, renewed. Your energy, the energy of your consciousness, is re-enlivened. Yeah, and so this is the idea of these two energies, and this is the foundation, really. If you live your life just believing there is one reality and it's a material one, then you're pretty much guaranteed to live your life in a number of very unhappy ways, as we'll see as we progress. So this first idea that there's two realities, the outer, the inner, leads us to the second insight, which is essential to understanding the immune system. And that's the difference between health and well-being. And these two things get mixed up. I'm sure you've read the advert, come on the spa weekend and enhance your well-being. Then you go for the weekend, and then you get someone putting hot rocks on your body, you get a massage, you get needles put in certain places, you get another massage, and so you leave feeling fantastic physically. But nothing really has changed within your being. And so health is physical, and being is your consciousness, your state of being, which is your state of consciousness. I'm sure you all know someone who is very healthy physically, but they're not well. Their state of being is not well. Yeah, or someone who is who's a lot of pain physically, yeah, but they're always well in their being. In other words, they're always positive, upbeat, very optimistic, always ready to engage. While in their physical body, there's a lot of pain, but they never speak about it. So the person who's very healthy in their body and not well in their being, there's that person, and then there's the person who's very unhealthy, but very well in their being. I'm not quite sure how you would put yourself along that spectrum. Have a healthy body, but not well in your being means you're always negative, upset, complaining, stressed, very pessimistic, long face most of the time. And so you're not well in your being, although you might have a very healthy body. And so you get this tension between the two, and it all gets mixed up. These two ideas, these two meanings, health and well-being, get entangled. So it's quite useful to separate. Health and well-being are very separate things. And that takes us into the third area, which is pain and suffering. So pain is what happens to your body. Pain is to do with your health. And so pain is compulsory because there'll be some time that someone bumps into you. They stand on your toe, or you go to the dentist and there's a lot of pain in your teeth. And so this is painful. This is pain. This is compulsory. You can't avoid this. Life will have many moments of pain. But suffering is optional, because suffering is mental and emotional. And we are 100% responsible for our thoughts and our feelings, thoughts and emotions. It's something that we cannot avoid, although we're taught the opposite. We're taught someone else is responsible for our thoughts and our feelings, our emotions. Two great teachers, Hollywood and Bollywood. They depend on us living under the illusion that someone else is responsible for what I feel. That's how they make their money. We go to the movie and we watch the movie and we pay someone to frighten the living daylights out of us. It's actually, that's what, but it's not the movie that frightens us. It's what we do with the movie in our consciousness. That's why someone sitting next to you, they're not frightened at all. They're just laughing at the movie. Well, you're really scared. And so it's like a proof that we are responsible for our emotions. And what triggers the emotion is our thinking about what we're watching. And so someone drops a knife on your leg, moment of pain, and the person who's had a knife dropped on their leg, you might meet them in 2 years and they'll say, I remember that day you dropped a knife. I'll never forget that. I'm still upset with that. And so 1 moment of pain, 2 years of suffering, 2 years of anger. Some people, you drop a knife on their leg and they go, oh, no problem. That was an accident. It's okay. Move on. Forget it. And so 1 moment of pain, no suffering, or almost no suffering. So you see the difference between the two, and it's quite important to realize pain is compulsory, but suffering is always optional. You don't have to become upset. Make yourself suffer. It's not compulsory. And so the fourth insight, fourth little bit of information I'd like to put into the background, which might be useful for you, is this idea of the difference between, disease, and we're not talking about disease here. Disease tends to be what occurs physically. When you go and see a doctor and they diagnose and they put a label and they say, you've got this kind of disease or that kind of disease. Oh God, thank goodness for that. Now I know what's going on in my body. At least I know. And so this is physical disease, for which they make many treatments and many drugs and so on. But what we're talking about today is not disease, physical disease, but dis-ease. And I said dis-ease means an unrelaxed, tense, anxious state of consciousness. So there is a connection, and it's the mind-body connection. It's the consciousness body. Your state of consciousness will affect your physical energy. No problem there. There's lots of evidence to prove that. But what we're talking about today is the dis-ease within your consciousness, and how to reactivate the immune system in your consciousness, which will help you with your dis-ease. And ultimately will help you with any physical disease, because it's a downward causation, downward process, connection between mind and body. Think tense thoughts, and where do you feel it in your body? In the muscles and the headache. Think anger thoughts, angry thinking, invisible, angry, mental thoughts might be the emotion of anger, which is invisible internally in your consciousness, affects your body eventually. Where does anger get you in your body? Blood pressure, maybe even cancer is associated with a lot of anger. So I'm not here to fix your physical diseases, but to help you see that maybe the cause, the initial part of the process is a form of dis-ease. And that occurs first in our consciousness. Now, what stops us from seeing this and doing anything about it, of course, is a very powerful belief that we all have. And it's a belief that it makes us lazy, really. It stops us taking responsibility. And it's this belief that when we get angry, when we get upset, when we get tense and anxious and worried, and when we get scared and what have you, or sad even, or depressed, we have this belief. And this belief, it says that it's just natural. It's human nature to feel angry, upset, scared. And so by thinking, re-energizing that belief, we don't do anything about it. And so it just happens, and it gets worse, and it gets bigger, and it's greater over time, because we just tell each other, well, it's natural. I mean, naturally you'd be scared, naturally you'd be angry with that, naturally you would be. And so that one belief, that it's human nature to create these emotions, is what stops us from being able to reactivate our immune system, the system that we need to activate in order to free ourselves from these dis-eases, these many moments of dis-ease. So let me explain to you how the immune system works, and then you'll see not just how it works, but what maybe you need to do to not just activate it, but to strengthen it. To strengthen it, which is really why we're here. And so there's 3 stages in the immune system, and how to bring it back to life. And stage number 1 is this simple idea of awareness. And this is the awareness of what you're feeling at any given moment. And when there's any moment of dis-ease, you will be feeling some kind of emotional disturbance. We feel our emotions. So we have natural feelings, which are not emotional, which is a natural feeling that comes from the very core of our consciousness. It's always there, your natural state of being. But then we create emotions which cause dis-ease. So it's about being aware, aha, I am feeling the emotion of irritation. I am feeling the emotion of anger. I am feeling the emotion of, and that's really quite challenging for us, because we don't learn the language of emotions. No one teaches us how to name the emotions that we feel. And whenever we have conversations about our emotions, they tend to end up either as arguments or as confusion, basically. What do you mean? I don't understand. And so we create emotions, and we feel them, and you do feel tense, anxious, worried, you feel irritated, frustrated, angry, you feel sad, down, up, excited, you feel this whole range of emotions. And this is what we believe is natural, but actually they're forms of dis-ease. So the step number 1 is to bring into our awareness, be aware, I am feeling anxious. I am feeling sad. I am feeling a moment of dis-ease. This emotion is dis-ease. Now we can tolerate this until, that's what I did in my life, you tolerate it for so long until it becomes so intense, so frequent, and so deep that you kind of stop and you have to do something about it. Most people wait until they have to change some, oh my God, I'm so anxious, or I'm so angry, I'm so stressed, I need to do something, I need to see someone. And so they usually wait until they hit the brick wall and have to do something about it. And really what I'm saying is, don't wait. Be curious. Be curious with me. I'm really curious. I like to get to the root of things and in my own consciousness. This is how I kind of rediscovered this whole very simple system. So step 1 is awareness of the emotions that you're feeling. So now we're going to do our Sherlock Holmes bit, the hunting. We're going to go hunting for the culprit. In other words, looking for the cause of this feeling, emotion of disease. I want to know where it's coming from. Now I remember it's not coming from outside in. I've had the penny drop. I've realized I'm the creator of the emotions that I feel. So I'm going to go inside. I'm going to have a look. And I'm going to see exactly where this emotion is coming from. And here is one thing you probably want to write down, and not just believe me, but go in and see for yourself. If you go into your own consciousness, you will see this for yourself. And then it won't be a question of belief. It'll be a question of, aha, now I know, now I get it. Aha. And so the cause of all emotion, if you're prepared to really take your awareness to different levels of depth, the cause of all emotion is a belief. Yeah, it's a belief that I've become attached to, either consciously or subconsciously. Yeah, consciously or subconsciously. And some beliefs I'm very consciously attached to. When you argue with someone, you're very consciously attached to a certain belief. But most of the time, it's a belief or belief system that you've assimilated and that you've sent into your subconscious. And that's why you react. That's why you got this. That's why when someone just has to say one word, just press one little button, you react. What's going on? What's happening? Don't do that. And so I'm getting upset. I'm getting angry. And so in those moments, it's like they've done something or said something which has contradicted the belief that you are attached to in your subconscious. And so that's what's triggering the disturbance. It's what an emotion is. It's a disturbance. Love is not an emotion. The disturbance in your consciousness. Yeah. So this is the second step in reactivating the immune system. It's called realization. Realizing where the emotion is being triggered, the belief that it's coming from. Now, if you stay realized about the belief within your consciousness that's triggering the emotion, if you stay with it, you will begin to see through it. And you'll begin to realize what's called the truth. Yeah. Every human being, every conscious human being is also a container of truth, not as a philosophy or an idea or as an insight, but their trueness. Yeah, their trueness, their true state of being. This is the state of being that we're not too familiar with in ourselves, because we spent so much of our time being distracted by the world out there, which we think is the only reality, by our screens, by our technology, and so on. We're so busy with other people and what they're doing and what they're not doing, is that we don't really know our own trueness. Yeah, and so if you stay aware of the belief, then you'll begin to realize the truth. And you know the old saying, the truth will set you free. And when you realize the truth, the third stage of the immune system, when you realize it and act on it, when you bring it to the surface and either speak it or act based on that truth, then there is transformation. Yeah, you transform. Yeah, transformation means to transcend. And what you're doing is you're going above. You're above, below. It's the same thing in consciousness. You're going above. You're leaving your attachment to your belief. You're transcending. And before, because you were attached to this belief, you took the form of the belief. It was like you lost your sense of self in the belief just for a second. And so you're changing your form by transcending. Transformation. Transform, transcend, change the form, which is now coming from a place of trueness within yourself. And then Asian is action. The action of rising above, in other words, leaving your attachment to your belief and taking on the new form, which is your trueness. So this is the process. Let me give you an example. A true life example, actually, a very mundane, very simple example. I'm driving along one day and I'm going to visit a friend. And before I departed, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where I was going. So I asked someone how to get to a certain place. And they gave me a certain amount of information of a certain route to take to get where I wanted to go, to my destination, basically. So I'm driving along. And of course, I took that information and I kind of believed the guy. I'm driving along and I just get this feeling that there's something, I'm uncomfortable. It's not a big, deep, but it's just this, you ever had that feeling when you're driving? There's something wrong here. There's something not quite right. I can't put my finger on it. But instead of distracting my consciousness by listening to the radio or the CD, I stay with this feeling, which is really an emotion of discomfort. It's an emotional state. And I stay with it. I stay looking at it. I stay aware of it. And as I become aware, deeper and deeper in my awareness of this emotion of discomfort, then there's a moment I see the sun is shining in the left of the car, and I kind of, oh, wait a minute, the sun should be shining in the right-hand side of the car. And so I have a realization, oh, I'm going in the wrong direction. And the moment I have that realization, stop the car, turn around, and I go in the other direction. And the moment I do that, the emotion disappears. There's a transformation in the energy of my consciousness. Now I'm very comfortable, very easy. Now I'm going in the true direction. Yeah. So, so what happened? I took the information from the person I asked, how do I get there? And I created a belief. You know, in the physical world, when there's a physical disease, it's usually some kind of virus that gets into the body. Oh, virus. Very common in today's world, as you probably know. And so the equivalent of virus in our consciousness is a belief. You know, beliefs are viruses in our consciousness. And the reason for that is belief is not the truth. It's not that beliefs are wrong, but it's the idea that we create belief, the raw materials information, and we create a belief, and then we become very static, and we close ourselves. We lose ourselves in the belief, in the idea. Yeah, and that's unnatural for consciousness. Yeah, that's unnatural. The natural state of consciousness is to be open and fluid and flowing and aware. Yeah. So what did I do? I took the raw material information and I used that to create the belief that this is the way to go. Yeah, and then I got very attached to it for 15 miles. I was very attached to that belief. Then I suddenly realized, wait a minute, hold on a second. And there was a feeling of discomfort. And so and because the belief was taking me in the wrong direction, and I turn around, and as soon as I turn around, I'm going in the true direction. My dis-ease comes to an end. So it's just a very simple example. Maybe another one is when you argue with someone. I don't know if you ever, no, you never, I know you never argue. So when you argue with somebody, if you're aware in the process of the argument, you'll notice what arises from inside your consciousness. It's a mixture of anger and fear. Yeah, it's definitely uncomfortable. And if you look into the discomfort, you'll notice, you become aware. I'm angry, I'm irritated, this guy's he's not agreeing with me, or I'm fearful that he might be right and I'm wrong. And so I notice in the process of the argument that there's dis-ease. And the dis-ease not coming from the other guy, which is really tricky because that's what we've learned to believe, that the other person is making me angry or fearful. No, it's my creation. So I become aware of it, I look into it, and I see the belief that's causing this dis-ease. And the belief is, I am right. Yeah, there's the belief, and then there's another belief. There's this belief is right, which is really me saying, I am right. Yeah. And so I notice I'm making myself upset, angry, fearful, basically. And so that then if I just stay with the I am right, causing the anger and the fear and my dis-ease, if I stay with the I am right belief, and I just look below it, I might have the realization. What's the realization? The realization, well, I often use the example, if there's two people in the audience and they're both looking at flowers on the stage, and I ask one person for a description of the flowers, they give me a brilliant description of the flowers on the stage. I ask the other person on the other side of the audience to give me a description, they give me a brilliant description. And so now I've got two different descriptions from two different people. Now, which one is right? Because they're seeing it differently. Which one is right? Neither is right. Well, both are right, because that's their point of view at this moment of time. And any minute they could change chairs or go somewhere else or in the room, and then they would see it differently. They would see the flowers differently, which means for me, the truth is, at least in words, in words it's easy, but in the reality of the day-to-day interaction, it's not so easy. But in words it's easy, and in words it goes like this: no one is ever right or wrong. So as soon as I realize that truth, then what's the point in arguing? This is just his point of view and my point of view, and we both have different points of view. So how do you disarm someone in an argument? Oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Well, I don't get it. I don't agree with you, actually, but I can understand that you have a different point of view, and I have a different point of view. And so, yeah, great. Okay, see you later. Bye. Coffee. Yeah, let's meet for coffee tomorrow. And so there's no need to argue. Why do you argue? You know, because I want to prove my belief is true. In other words, I want to impose my belief in him. I want to control his belief system. Yeah, all those layers. Yeah, which is crazy because you can't control anyone. That's the truth. And in any argument, there's no right or wrong. Yeah, and in a sense, that's a pointer towards consciousness itself, because in consciousness, there's no right or wrong, good, bad, left, right, up, down, hot, cold. These are functions of the material world. This is the language of duality. And we create the language of duality to describe the material world. Yeah, up, down, hot, cold, here, there, left, right, and so on. And so everything has an opposite. And it's the tension of those opposites that makes this physical world real. But in consciousness, there is no opposite. There is just one. But we use the language we've invented to describe the material world, to describe what's going on in consciousness. And that means there's no opposites. There's just one. There's no positive or negative. You know, there's no good or bad, no right or wrong. There is just thoughts arising all the time, thoughts arising. It might be a question of alignment. Are those thoughts aligned with the true me, the trueness of me? And if they're aligned, then they just emerge naturally, yeah, in response to whatever is going on. And there's no dis-ease. But if there's just a little bit of misalignment, then those thoughts, they're not negative, they're just slightly out of line. They're not accurate. And of course, we then blame others for that's how because you made me think like, you made me feel like this. And so we project onto others the dis-ease that we feel because of the misalignment, yeah, instead of correcting it ourselves. And so if I say there's no positive or negative in consciousness, for me, that's a truth. But for you, it might be, oh my God, how can that be? I did my positive thinking course. I think positively. I never think negative. I push negative thoughts away, and I only think positive. And so you might be struggling at this moment to kind of see that. And that if you are, then I would recommend that you don't push what you call the negative away, but you just look at them and you become aware of them, and then notice if there's any emotional baggage coming with them. Yeah. In other words, if you think, oh, I shouldn't be thinking negatively. Oh, I'm so upset. And I'm getting upset at myself for being so negative. I was taught to always think positively. So I don't need to be here. I need to be there. Stop being over there. I need to be here. And stop being so negative. I've got to be more positive. And so you get stuck. You get lost in the tension, creating tension in your own consciousness. And that tension is dis-ease, because you're carrying the belief that in consciousness, there's positive and negative, and I shouldn't be negative, I should be positive. No, there's just thoughts. And either those thoughts are aligned with the truth, or they're out of alignment, or they're way out of alignment. And the more out of alignment they are, the more dis-ease you will create and feel in yourself. Yeah, that's the signal, basically. That means I've got some correcting to do. I've got some realizing to do. And as soon as you realize, now I get it, there is transformation. And this is the immune system. That's why I usually say, if you want to strengthen the immune system, you have to challenge every single belief, that you've been taught, that you've assimilated. Yeah. And so eventually, if you keep challenging what you've been taught, then eventually you'll stop creating rigid beliefs. You'll stop being so rigid. I believe this, and I believe that, and I believe this, and I got to fight for this belief. And so you'll stop being so rigid because you'll start to realize that belief is not the truth. You know, the truth about belief is actually in the word belief, in English anyway, the truth about belief. And you spell the word belief, B-E-L-I-E-F. So all beliefs are lies. The being, belief, is lying to itself. You know, we are lying to ourselves, not the content of the belief. Whether it's right or wrong doesn't really matter. It's not right or wrong. It's just the content of the belief. But it's the fact that we get very stuck, rigid around the belief. It's called attachment to my beliefs. Yeah, and so we get stuck, and then we try and project, impose on others, or else we feel fearful as others articulate their belief that it's not the same as mine, which is not the same as me. And so we get into a conflict. And if you look at any conflict in the world today, whether it's interpersonal, across the breakfast table or across the ocean table, you'll notice it's just two sides, always two sides with different beliefs. Just dig down a little bit deeper and they just have different beliefs. And we believe this is our land, we believe this is our land. And we believe this is the way to live, we believe this is the way. It's just two different beliefs. Now, if they weren't rigidly stuck and closed around those beliefs, then there would be a meeting of the two sides. There would be communication, basically. It would be much easier to and then mature adults do this. They do this a lot. They don't fall into conflict. So this is the process, ART, awareness, realization, and truth. And maybe there's a few diseases or moments of dis-ease which indicate that I have a certain kind of dis-ease in my consciousness. I'm going to use physical diseases as metaphors to describe conscious dis-ease, a dis-ease in our consciousness. I want to use physical metaphors. Just remember, they're metaphors. You know, they're not. I'm not talking about actual physical, but I'm going to use them as metaphors to describe consciousness. And the main one for most of us is blindness. You know, if you were physically blind, yeah, and so we become spiritually blind, if you like. There's a blindness that occurs in our consciousness. You know, if you're walking down the road one day and it's very hot and dusty and dry, and this car rushes past, it kicks up all the dust into your eyes, and you can't see. For a few moments, you can't see until you get the dust. You clear the dust from your eyes, and then you can see clearly. So the same happens for us, is that in our consciousness, we kick up dust. Yeah. We kick up dust, and the dust in our consciousness is called emotion. Yeah. It's the equivalent. You know, whenever you become emotional, it's like dust. Have you ever noticed that when you become emotional, you can't think straight, you can't see clearly, you can't make good quality decisions, you can't see clearly, you can't interact very effectively with other people when you're emotional, because you can't see clearly what they're trying to say and their position or whatever. You can't connect very well because of the dust of emotion in your consciousness. Sometimes it's called the third eye. It sort of takes over, it hijacks your third eye, the eye of the intellect. And so the intellect is, what are you doing? Until we become very emotional. And so emotion, this emotion originates, and this is called the cycle of emotion, originates with a moment of sadness. It might just be a second. It's a moment of sadness because you believe you've lost something. Yeah, so the belief is lost. I'm aware I'm sad. The belief is I've just lost something. And so the sadness then turns to anger. Oh, you're to blame for my loss. And then that turns to fear. Oh my God, I don't want to lose it. And so fear is always a future loss. Sadness is always past loss. And so we get stuck in this cycle. This is called the cycle of suffering. And each one of us, we just learn. It's not right or wrong. We just learn to create and live in this cycle. And it's all because of this one belief. This one virus that gets in. And that virus is called mine. That's mine, they're mine, this is mine, that's going to be mine, that belongs to me, I possess that. And so it's the belief that we possess things. That's what starts the cycle. So if you want to break the cycle, if you want to break out of this habit of being in a state of dis-ease, I have to realize a deeper truth. And the deeper truth is not a new idea. It's not a new insight. It's ancient, actually. And the truth is, I don't possess anything. Nothing is ever mine. People come and go. Things come and go. Shirts come and go. Money comes and goes. Jobs come and go. Everything comes and goes. Cars come and go. Thoughts come and go. Feelings come and go. Everything comes and goes. Everything's designed to come and go. That's life. It's a movement, dynamic movement of energy and the river of life. But of course, we try to dam the river. We try to hold on. We try to possess. We think that's mine and this is mine. We've been taught to believe that you can possess. And that the more you possess, the more successful you will be, and the more secure you will feel, and the more you will be revered in the eyes of others. So we learn these beliefs, and then we try to possess things, and we believe we possess things. And then we make ourselves sad. Yeah, we make ourselves sad when something, someone, whatever, leaves, goes, departs, as everything and everyone must eventually. We make ourselves sad. And so we create the dis-ease because we've allowed the virus of possession to enter and live in our consciousness. And so transformation happens in your energy, in your outlook, in your attitude, and every level of your consciousness. Transformation happens when you realize the truth. Nothing is ever mine. Okay, everything comes and goes. Everything has its moment to go, to leave, to finish. That's okay. That's life. And now I'm at ease in life, not dis-ease, but I'm at ease in my life. You're right. It's easy theory, good theory, but very challenging to put into practice because the virus has got such a grip. That belief has got such a grip in our consciousness. So I don't want to talk too long, and I'm sure there must be some questions that must be arising in your head. And so let's have a look and see if there's any. And on the chat page, you can put your questions. Let me just read. Can you have a look at your chat pages and you'll see the questions? I think you can also see the questions. Oh, some of them are private. Okay. So someone's saying my vices are the main obstacle, especially lust. I used to watch naughty videos and I'm addicted to it. Even I'm becoming, okay. Community sins and I need advice in this matter. Really conquer and okay. Distraction one, okay. So the secret is and this will happen over time. It's like a set of stages in your consciousness which will occur if you build spiritual practice into your life. Step 1, self-awareness. Step 2, that will lead you into what's called self-understanding. When you begin to understand what's going on inside your consciousness. Sometimes, when you meditate, there's a moment that you realize, I can't meditate very well. Most people have these moments. I'm not meditating very well. In actual fact, what you're doing is you're becoming aware of what's occurring in your consciousness, which you're not in control of. It's just thoughts coming, feelings coming, memories coming. They seem to be coming out of nowhere. They're just coming from your subconscious. And they're disturbing your ability to meditate. And so the secret The secret is to allow them to come and allow them to pass. Let them come, let them pass. Yeah, everything comes to pass, including your thoughts, memories, feelings. They'll come to pass. Don't engage with them. Don't energize them. And so meditation is just watching them pass. Let them pass through. There's no bad thoughts. There's no good thoughts. There's no right thoughts. There's no wrong thoughts. Stop judging. You'll notice you want to judge your own thoughts. This is the habit of judgment. And so just notice, oh, I'm in judging again. So come out of judging. This is meditation. Stop being taken over by the habit of always judging. Yeah, now the more you practice that, the more you just observe, the more you come out of the habits, these kinds of habits inside. Oh, feel so bad. Oh, I shouldn't be feeling this. I shouldn't be doing thinking like that. And the more you come away from that, it loses their power. They will lose their strength to influence you. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are not your habits. Yeah, they're your creation. You've kind of laid down your creation. All your habits together, habits of thinking, habits of emotion, they make up the matrix in your consciousness. So come away. Learn to just watch. Yeah, be quiet and watch. And so you begin to understand, oh, I'm feeling like this because I'm attached to that belief, because I've had those thoughts every day for a year. I have a habit of thinking like that. Oh, just come away. And it's like when you are emotional, the secret is just observe for a moment. All emotion dies under observation. All emotion dies under observation. So just come back and say, and the more you do that, the more you understand. And there'll be a moment when you go, aha, there's realization, self-realization. Yeah. You realize it's a little bit like drilling for oil. You've just kind of come back to the very core of your consciousness. It's like you've been drilling. You've been coming away from what's on the surface thoughts and feelings. You come away and you feel something very powerful within yourself. And that power is necessary for the next stage. And the next stage is self-mastery. And when you realize and you master what's going on in your consciousness, yeah, instead of being a slave to what's going on outside in the world, instead of being a slave to the movie and the story and the characters, you're kind of watching the movie. I'm not saying don't watch the movie and realize it's not just playing, it's playing here in my mind, on the screen in my mind. The movie's really playing here. So let me be the observer of what's going on in my mind and not get lost in the characters in my mind, which is what we do. So not get lost in the ideas, the memories that are playing in my mind. And so you begin to be able to center yourself. Sometimes it's called centering, and you'll be able to watch, to see. And so it takes a little bit of practice, awareness, understanding, realization, and then mastery. Yeah. And so habits of thinking, habits of emotion, habits of feeling, they're just part of our personality. That's our creation. I'm the creator. That's our creation. So don't get lost in your creation. Yeah. Don't get lost in it. Come back and just watch it. And that's the practice of meditation. Sitting in the chair, on the cushion. Some people call it sitting on your cushion and just watch. Just practice watching. And the more you do that, the less those habits will take you over. The less you will lose yourself in those habits. Would cognitive behavior therapy be the right approach to challenge the misalignment with the belief systems? Thereby, cognitive behavior therapy is very useful therapy because it enhances your ability to understand what's going on. You know, what thoughts you're having, what emotions are being triggered, the beliefs that are underlying those emotions. It's almost the same as what we're describing here, except it's just different words. And in many ways, I'm just drawing my map, you know, but it's Mike's map. It's not your map. You know, the old saying, map is not the territory. The real territory is in your consciousness. So I'm kind of saying, hey guys, come on, sit down and draw your own map, make your own map. You can't do that unless you sit quietly, deepen your awareness, and cultivate your self-understanding. Have your moments of self-real, aha, now I see where it's coming from, self-realization. And so you draw your own map in that process, and you will have your own way to describe it, your own words, your own connections, and that will change over time. You'll refine it, you'll go deeper over time if you build some kind of meditative, reflective, introspective practice into your life. Yeah, and of course, many people, yeah, I want to do it. I'm really enthusiastic. Fantastic. When do I start? When's the course? And so they're down that end of the spectrum. Other people up the other end, oh, yeah, no, I'm not ready for that. No, I can't do that. You know, what's for dinner tonight? And what's on TV? And so they're up the other end of the spectrum. They're not that interested. That's okay. And so we're all on the spectrum, yeah, depending on our level of interest, depending on our level of curiosity, and depending on our level of dis-ease. Yeah, because that's really what drives us into the space, the introspective, meditative space. Belief systems are viruses. Yeah, change or transform the belief system, and then dis-ease becomes at ease. Yeah, good summary. Yeah, thanks, Rulani. You've been listening. It's great. Thank you for the clarity. But does one facilitate that change or transformation of belief, especially because in the main it is unconscious process? How does one bring it to the surface of awareness in order to facilitate its reframing? Great question. You know, consciousness is often illustrated metaphorically by the iceberg. And the iceberg, we all know, is 10% you see and 90% underneath the surface you don't see. So consciousness is a bit like that. 10% you're consciously aware of right now, and then 90% is in your subconscious. So if you practice meditation, for example, then you lower the line. You know, you sit quietly without being distracted by anything outside, and then you sit quietly without being distracted so much by anything, your thoughts, your feelings, your memories. You quieten that down, and then the line becomes lower, and you begin to become aware of what's existing in your subconsciousness. You begin to see the connections. Yeah. And so it's not that you have to or you should, but you will naturally, and it will naturally come to the surface. Yeah. And you can't force this process, you can't speed it up. It will be according to the depth of your meditation, your introspection, your reflection. And it's a combination of these things. It is reflection 1 minute, and reflecting means, what are you going to tell me? What happened there? And why did I feel that? And so you're kind of thinking things through sometimes, combined with listening to your feelings. So contemplation is like taking an idea or an insight or something, and then going into the depth of it. Where does this take me? If I really understand this insight and I contemplate it, it will open doors in my consciousness to deeper meaning. Yeah. So contemplation, reflection, meditation is just being quiet, allowing everything to be quiet, and then coming back to the core of me. Yeah. And then being very silent, and then just watching, just not thinking, not feeling, wanting to feel anything, not desire, but noticing when there is desire, noticing when I do want to think something, and then just, okay, no, let it go. And then just coming back to your own stillness. Yeah. And so it's a combination of these practices, you know, and maybe even talking to a good friend about these things is also useful, because it makes you kind of think differently and look at things differently, another angle and another insight, they trigger things. So talking to someone who's interested in this inner territory is also useful. So it's a combination of these practices which help you to go through that process of deepening your self-awareness, your self-understanding, your self-realization, and ultimately your self-mastery. Sorry about the shortness of the answer. Can we conclude religions are a big cause of the virus of beliefs? Not really. I mean, religion gives you a set of information from outside in the form of scripture. No one's to blame. It's not a question of religions are wrong. But many people, they take that information and they create a set of beliefs. And so everyone creates their own version It's like if you have a relationship with someone, the relationship's not outside, inside, and it's not external, it's internal. It's your version of that person that you're having a relationship with. It's not actually them, it's your version. Yeah. And so it's like everyone who calls themselves religious creates their version of a belief system that they use the information from the institution. They take the information and they create a belief. And then they use that belief system to feel some kind of support. And that's really the search for security. We're searching for security, to be supported. Yeah, we don't realize that support, that sense of security, has to come from inside out. But we're trying to find it outside in some belief system that we think is outside, but we actually create it by taking that information in. Do you see it? And so actually, if you're searching for security, you'll always feel insecure. Always. It's like if you look for happiness, you'll always have moments of unhappiness because it doesn't lie outside. Security doesn't lie outside the self. It has to come from inside. And that sense of security is only going to occur in your consciousness when you rediscover what's true, your trueness, your true state of being. Sometimes it's called your original state of being, your natural state of being. And if you want to, in today's language, your ease, when you just rediscover your ease. Yeah, now to get there is an adventure. You realize you got to stop wanting things. You realize you got to stop holding on to things. You got to realize that, everyone is responsible, like me first, for everything I think and feel. So you'll have these aha moments along the way. And eventually, now I've arrived. Yeah. And sometimes this is called the spiritual journey, if there is such a thing. Okay, next question is a private. Okay, understanding that seeing your beliefs is key to starting the transformation. Some are easy to see, but others are deeply buried. How to reveal these to the self? Deeply buried this is what I've just been describing. Everything, just about everything is deeply buried in our consciousness. Meditation, contemplation, reflection, and you'll start to see, you start to have insight for yourself, or what I call realization or aha moments. They'll start to occur, if you're interested. That's a private one. Okay, how do you discern right from wrong belief? There is no right or wrong belief. It's not that the belief, in other words, the content, the concepts in the belief are right or wrong. It's the fact that we get very attached to the belief. And that might just be for a few minutes. I'm very attached to my opinion here. You have to have an opinion. And this is my opinion. This is not opinion, just a belief in your consciousness. And so it's the sign that you're stuck is there's tension. There's, oh my God, they might not agree with me. And so maybe you start fighting verbally and then physically. And so you're in a state of dis-ease. That's the signal. But of course, you've learned to believe they create the dis-ease. No, it's not them. It's me. It's me that's making me suffer. All my suffering is self-created. Yeah. And so it's not that the belief is right or wrong. It's the very fact that I've created it. That means I'm closed. I'm closed around this idea, opinion, belief. Whereas the natural state is to be open and free. To be able to listen to anyone's point of view, realizing everyone has a different point of view on everything at every moment. Wow, it's freedom. You're free, and you're free of the tension. You're free of trying to fight. You're free of the dis-ease. So if you can see this process within yourself, not a question of beliefs being right and wrong, it's the very fact that you're holding on. You've created the belief and you're holding on to it, and you've closed yourself around it. You're tight. You're attached to the idea. How far do we go to melting the entire doggone iceberg? You can go as far as you like. I think at the very beginning, I kind of mentioned that I'm so curious to get to the truth of things, of everything, outside and inside. And when you try and get to the truth of everything, you realize that the journey is depthless. The metaphor is the iceberg in the ocean. But actually you go beyond it, and the ocean is just depthless. Yeah. If the ocean was an iceberg, it's depthless. So keep going. Keep going. It's not that you, oh my God, oh, well, no point then. Oh, I might as well not do it. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Then just keep making yourself upset every day and enjoy your stress, because that's the sign that you're living on the surface. You're living very tightly. Okay, then let's do the final question, and then I think we'll finish with a short meditation. The identity crisis is on the rise. Unfortunately, many people feel like they are a religion or a race. Yeah, that's very true. That's absolutely true. Sometimes it's called identity politics, and really the mistake that we all make is not only do we get attached to things, to people, ideas, beliefs, but we lose ourselves in what we're attached to. This is a subtle awareness that we're not, you have to join the dots, because if someone, and I use the carpet quite often as an example. If I get a new carpet that's on the floor in my lounge, the carpet exists in two places, on the floor and in my mind. Yeah, and if someone spills coffee on the carpet, and I get very angry, very upset or irritated, if I create dis-ease in myself, it's not the person that spilled the coffee that's done that, it's me, because I've lost myself in the idea, the image of the carpet in my own mind. Yeah, and this is what we do. This is what I've done. I am the carpet to all intents and purposes in that moment. It might just be for a few moments, and then it passes and I come out again. But we jump around, we identify with what we believe is mine. What you possess becomes you. What you believe you possess becomes you, becomes me. That's just a mistake. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's just a mistake. It's called a case of mistaken identity. And that's the real root cause of all our suffering, all our upset, all our unhappiness, in whatever form it takes, whatever shape. Yeah, and so this idea of whatever you're attached to, you use to build your sense of who I am. Yeah. It's good. So let's finish our time together with just a short meditation, and to make that journey, sometimes it's called the journey of no distance in 1 second. Yeah. And I'm going to ask you to take the shape of your chair, whatever that may be, and to sit comfortably, and to not look at the screen, but to look away from the screen. Look at something, rest your eyes on something to the side or beyond the screen. Because if you're always watching the screen, then you start triggering the habit of judging and assessing and evaluating and whatever. And so what you want to do is just rest your eyes somewhere, because ultimately in meditation, you're going beyond what you see. It's a bit like daydreaming, when you're looking at something, but you're lost. And so now you're going to do it consciously. You're going to lose your physical attention for a moment. So just take the shape of your chair, relax your body in the chair, and then just bring your awareness to yourself. Bring your awareness to your breathing. Always a good place to start. No music, thank you. You can rest your eyes on the point if you want to. That's okay too. On the screen. And then just bring your awareness to your breath, and just follow your breath for a moment. In other words, let go of the world around you. It will always be there. You come back to it in a few moments. Just let go of everything out there and begin to internalize your attention and just watch your breath. Don't force, just watch. The in and the out breath, full cycle. And you become even more relaxed physically, and now you're beginning to relax mentally. Then bring your awareness to yourself and just take a moment and see if you can be aware of yourself being aware. And then bring your awareness to your mind. And then on the screen of your mind, just create one thought, one simple thought. I am a being of peace. Allow that thought to pass across your mind, but very slowly. And then let that thought fade away, dissolve into the background. And notice what remains. There's a feeling of peace, of calm, of quiet, of ease. The mind is silent. And there's a stillness here at the heart of my being. Silent and still. Silent and still. And then bring your awareness back out to hold the room around you. But bring that stillness with you. That quiet ease. And as you listen through your ears, listen from that state of ease. As you look through these eyes, see from that stillness. And as you do, notice your state of easiness. Feels so natural. It's good. Thank you. So thank you very much once again for tuning in. I'll take your questions, many questions here, and hopefully I'll be able to reply to them all, and I'll send that reply. And if you leave your emails with the organizers, then I'll send the replies to them, and they can forward the replies to you. So thank you once again. Andrina, are you coming to take over?
Yes, I am, Mike. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for sharing these insights and encouraging us to be curious and aware of our thoughts and our beliefs. I really appreciate that we need to now go and create art, awareness, realization, and trust. And now it's not only the COVID-19 virus that we're needing to treat, but all the viruses that cause the dis-ease in the body as we move towards ease. And thank you for the inspiration. You've been so exceptionally generous with us today. I also want to say thank you to the Brahma Kumaris for hosting this very beneficial program. And for more information about these and other programs, please do contact the Brahma Kumaris on brahmakumaris.org.za in South Africa. And I'm going to ask one of the Brahma Kumaris team to post the website onto the chat group. But most importantly, this afternoon, I want to say a big thank you to each and every one of you, the 72 people that have joined from the YouTube group, as well as all the 80-odd, 90-odd people that joined us on this chat group. And to say, wherever in the world you are, thank you for choosing to invest this time with us. And I hope that this investment of your time will yield a very beneficial return. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Stay safe. Goodbye.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks for coming. Bye.
Thank you for your inspiration, for your life and love. Thank you for your recognition of the one above. Thank you for your sweet compassion, for your life of truth. Thank you for walking on this earth. Thank you for being you. The river flows back to the ocean. The trees turn back to dust. The sun must set as the day ends, and so shall all of us. The gift of silence is returned.